Hearty welcome, wonderful parents of beautiful children and also would-be parents of beautiful children to this last session of ISP, Joy of Parenting, 9th session, Food and Your Child. We will have our regular prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Om Shri Vishveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Vishveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Vishveshwaraya Namaha. Om Shri Rushi Prabhakaraya Namaha. Om Shri Rushi Prabhakaraya Namaha. Om Shri Rushi Prabhakaraya Namaha. Jai Gurudev. Once again, welcome wonderful parents of beautiful children and also would-be parents of beautiful children to this 9th session of Joyous Parenting Infant Siddha program, the last session. We had already our regular prayer. One more prayer we will have, but after some explanation, I have a question for all of you. Which is the holy book of Islam?
Quran.
Which is the holy book of Christianity?
Bible.
Which is the holy book of Sikh Panth?
Guru Granth Sahib.
Which is the holy book of Hinduism?
Bhagavad Gita. Veda. Well, Bhagavad Gita.
And even doubtfully you say, yes or no? No Christian has any doubt about his holy book. No Muslim has got any doubt about his holy book. No Sikh has got. But we have doubts about our holy book. Yes or no? When other religion person when asks to us, which is your holy book. Will not directly tell so easily like others. Yes or no? Because we doesn't have one holy book. We have plenty of holy books in our religion. See, one can follow whichever holy book he likes to his way of living, to his emotion, to his consciousness level, whichever suits, he can select that holy book and he can follow it. That is the greatness of Hinduism. If somebody, some Muslim, don't follow whatever written in Quran, he will be considered as non-Muslim. If a Christian doesn't follow the Bible, so he will be not considered as Christian. But in our Hinduism, it is not like that. We have three character gunas. It is called Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. Have you heard this? Different people, this combination of these will be in different levels, different percentages. Accordingly, he will live in this world. Sattva Guna Pradhan Vyakti, Tamoguna Pradhan Vyakti, Rajoguna Pradhan Vyakti, like this. As per that, they will choose their God and scriptures. In Hinduism, our saints, sages, wants to include everyone in the world in our religion. They need not say, I am Hindu, but him also will consider us Hindu only. Do you consider Buddhists as Hindus or not? Yes or no? Tell me. See, we consider everyone in the world as Hindus. See, in our this thing, one Rishi was there. We called him as a Rishi, actually, Charvak Rishi. He was telling, he has got his own theory that there is no God in the world. Only I am there. Whatever I am seeing is the Satya for him. To such a person also we accepted and we called him as a Charvaka Muni. But he made a lot of research and his tarka was there and everything. Likewise, we include everyone in the world and we say, you follow whatever you want, but live like this. A simple living, high thinking way. If you live, you are Hindu. That's all. Likewise, according to our trigunas, permutation and combination, our consciousness levels will be. You know, Manoj Lekhi Acharya has explained us 6 levels of consciousness people. According to our consciousness level, we select our gods and our scriptures. We have plenty of scriptures. Plenty, not one. We should teach our children at least which are the main scriptures of Hinduism. They should be in a position to, they should not feel embarrassed when some other religion person asks them, which is your holy book and which is your God. They should not hesitate to tell. They should be in a position to boldly tell and immediately answer them with lot of proudness, that the greatness of Hinduism. I will not touch much about that, but whatever is relevant to this today's this thing, I will explain you. See, if you go to Google search, nowadays Google Guru has come, so you can ask any question. For most of the questions, it will answer Hinduism's holy scriptures. You will get the table, so that you can tell your children. Mainly, our oldest holy books are, scriptures are 4 Vedas. Now here it is mentioned in this Om chart, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharvan Veda, Sam Veda, like this. Vedas, 4, you can note down. We have 4 Upavedas also, like Ayurveda, And at the end of the Vedas, Vedanta is there. Vedanta, anta means the ending. Vedas, ending part is called Upanishads, which shows paths for the Shishyas to understand the God, to understand self, and to understand the world. Atma, Paramatma and Jagat, it is called. All the Upanishads will explain in different ways and manners the sambandha, the relationship of Atma, Paramatma and Jagat. Jagat means world, Atma means myself, Paramatma means that Almighty, God. Relationship between these three is explained in different manners. Many Upanishads are there. Out of that, 10 Upanishads are very important and famous Upanishads. Dasha Upanishad it is called. Dasha Upanishads. Few names I will tell you. Kathopanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Kenopanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, like this. 10 Upanishads are there. Next to this, our Puranas are there. Vyasa Maharshi has written Puranas. Vishnu Puran, Shiva Puran, Garuda Puran, Padma Puran, like this. 18 Puranas are there. Ashtadasha Puranas. Ashta means 8. Dasha means 10. 10 plus 8. Ashtadasha Puranas are there. 18 Upapuranas also there. That is also written by Vyasa Maharshi only. Upapuranas. That is called sub-Puranas. 18 is there. Apart from these, 2 Mahagranthas are there. Ramayana and Mahabharata. So many Gitas are there. Sita Gita is there, Lakshmana Gita is there, Rama Gita is there. So many Gitas are there. Among that, Bhagavad Gita is Sri Krishna told to Arjuna that Bhagavad Gita is very, very famous. That we consider, most of the Hindus will consider Bhagavad Gita as their holy book, which is the highly explained Vyakhyana, what we say, explains about Manashastra, psychology. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but depth psychology is there. After that, so many books have come. Acharya Trayas have come. Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. Shankaracharya has written so many books. Madhvacharya has written so many books. Ramanujacharya has written so many books. And so many people has written so many holy books. Till recent days, all our saints and sages, they are writing the holy books of Hinduism. It's very rich, very rich, very rich. Scriptures are there. We have to explain our children all this. Not necessarily one in a day, but slowly we have to explain all this, and they should by heart the things, and they should know what are all the scriptures we have. They by heart so many unwanted things of the world. So let them by heart this also. Our Shastra says every child who wanted to flourish intellectually in this world, they should learn at least 10 Shanti mantras. Shanti mantras, all Shanti mantras gives Shanti, peacefulness. It explains what are all the things should be peaceful in the world. In one mantra it says Apash Shantihi, Agni Shantihi, Vayu Shantihi. 5 elements should be peaceful. We have seen if water become aggressive, what happens? And the Vayu become aggressive, what happens? All those things should be peaceful. Like this, in the world, what are all the things should be peaceful, and we pray for the peacefulness of all those. That is called Shanti Mantras. Where we found these Shanti Mantras in our scriptures. In every Upanishad, I told Dashopanishads, important 10 Upanishads. In all the Upanishads, beginning of the Upanishad and ending of the Upanishad will be with one Shanti Mantra prayer. For example, Shanti Mantras, we by hearted we know, but we don't know those are Shanti Mantras, and it is from the Upanishads. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai. This is one Shanti Mantra. So at the end of the session, we'll always chant one Shanti Mantra. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Like this. Like this, so many, 10, at least our children should know Dasha Shanti Pataha, it is called. 10 Shanti Patas they should learn. All our children must learn. When they chant this in the house every day, inevitably in their house, peace should prevail permanently. When they say Shanti, 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 every day if they chant this morning and evening, morning and evening, morning and evening, in their house there should be Shanti, peacefulness. Teach this our children. You can search the Upanishads and ending of the Upanishad and beginning of the Upanishad. The shloka will be. I can do all this, but you have to do some work. Then only you will remember all this. If I spoon feed everything, you will not use that. I am entrusting to you itself. Now we will have one Shanti Mantras prayer.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णा भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु हरि ओम्.
First one is how much child has to eat, what child has to eat, when child has to eat, and how child has to eat. These things we will cover up. So before that, we will know general things about food. Food is divided into 3 major categories. One category is nutrition value basis, dividing the food into on the basis of nutrition value it contains. So which foods contain proteins, which has got minerals, which has got vitamins, which has got carbohydrates, like this, and how much carbohydrates we have to eat. So like this, which is good for our health, which is not good for our health. So in which season we have to eat which food. All these things. Categorizing nutrition value basis. It is the first way of dividing the food. Second way of dividing the foods is medicinal value basis. Every food has got its own medicinal values. Knowing and dividing say which has got which medicinal value, which can cure cough, which can cure asthma, which can cure gastritis, which can, like this. So medicinal value basis we divide. So how much we have to take, when we have to take. So dividing the food into in the basis of medicinal value. This is the second way of dividing the food. Third way of dividing the food is pranic value basis. Which food has got highest prana, which has got little less, which has got little less, which doesn't have pranic value. Depending upon the pranic value in it, dividing which food has to take how much, when we have to take, in which season which food we have to take, all these things. Based on the pranic value. First two things, that is nutrition value basis dividing the foods, is taught to us in our schools itself. So we know about nutrition values, which has got proteins, which has got carbohydrates, which has got minerals. We know all those things. We need not go in depth about that. And even if I am Indian, definitely I know which food has got which medicinal value. Even 5 years boy says, if I have a cold, don't eat banana. Immediately they say, don't eat grapes. So especially Indian mothers, they know their kitchen is a mini medical shop, like. So always they will be thinking which food has got which medicinal value and which food I have to prepare, putting which ingredients. So medicinal value basis also we need not go in depth. So pranic value basis, most of the people we doesn't know. So we will know a little more about pranic value. Already Guruji has explained. Just so we'll have the pictures. Pranic value is further classified as negative pranic food, zero pranic food and positive pranic food. So negative pranic food and zero pranic food. We'll know a little about this. See, every food has got prana in it. When every food has got prana in it, how we can say negative pranic food? Negative pranic food means, the explanation is, which takes away the prana from us. Whatever the prana was there, if we eat that food, it will reduce. That is why it is called negative prana. Instead of increasing our prana, it reduces our prana. That is why it is called negative pranic food. Zero pranic means it neither increases, it neither nor decreases. Positive pranic food means it increases the pranic value, pranic energy we have. When every food has got pranic value, when we eat, it should increase. It should make plus only, no? How come it reduces? It is like this. If we eat negative pranic foods, see, whenever we eat some food, to complete the digestion process of that food from mouth to anus, we have to use the whole digestion organs has to work. When it has to work, it has to use prana from our body. So using prana only, the digestion process happens. It is fuel like. So when we eat negative pranic food, what happens? See, whatever the quantity that negative pranic food gives us, the pranic energy gives us, is less than what pranic energy requires to get digest of that food. If it is giving 1 unit, if it consumes 2 units of prana, then 1 unit will reduce. Already we had. So like this. So it, no doubt it gives 1 unit, but it takes away 2 units to complete the digestion process. So such things, such foods are called negative pranic foods. Zero pranic food means the pranic energy consuming for digestion process and giving, if it is same quantity, it is called zero pranic food. And if it consumes less and provides more, it is called positive pranic food. So we will know which are negative, which are zero. Guruji explained. So onion, garlic, brinjal, asafoetida, non-vegetarian foods, chilies are negative pranic foods. Potato and tomato, zero pranic foods. So positive pranic foods, you can write down the pyramid, which has got the highest prana, next to that little less, like that. So in the pyramid, the highest pranic food is ash gourd. So white kaddu we say, no, that one, white pumpkin. So white pumpkin has got highest prana in it. It is with full of pranic energy, full of alkaline contents. So food can be divided into 2 groups. One which has got alkaline contents and the other one is acidic content food. So acidic containing foods, if we eat, acidity will increase in the body. If we eat alkaline containing food, the acidity will reduce in the body. And brilliance increases. When we eat acidity food, the brilliance will reduce. That is why, so this ash gourd, the Brahmins used to eat lot this to increase their brilliancy. So nowadays everyone will eat, and everyone's brilliancy is also increasing. Second highest pranic food is fresh fruits. Next to that is dry fruits. Dry fruits means in India, even nuts we will consider as dry food, but it is not so. Dry fruits means dried fruits only, like anjura, dates, grapes. So in other countries, all these mango, chiku, everything they dry it and they will have dry fruits. So next to, in hierarchy, next to that is fresh vegetables. Next to that is sprouts. Next to that, sprouts means green gram sprouts, matki dana sprouts, what do you call, groundnut sprouts, the other sprouts also, other dana. So next to that is nuts. So nuts means, you know, all groundnut, cashew nuts, arconet, so many nuts, badam, pista, all those things. Next to that is steamed vegetables. So steamed vegetables means 25% only the boil happens. 75% prana will be there. 25% only the pranic value will reduce when we steam it. Next to that is boiled food. So boiled food, 50% prana goes and 50% at least it will be. So next to that is cooked food. In cooked food also 75% prana goes and 25% prana remains. So next to that is fried food. So 100% prana goes, nothing is there. It will be like a charcoal, no prana, but taste will be there, that's all. Fried and deep fried food. They say in Tamil, the deep fried, when they deep fry, they call it as curry. Yeah. For charcoal also they call curry. See, means it is nothing but a charcoal. See, from the top, whatever the quantity more and more we take, that much pranic energy will increase in our body. So prana is very, very important. So when we eat this, our energy increases, activeness increases, lifespan increases, brilliance increases, health increases, everything will happen. We will continue the session. We were discussing about regarding milk should be given to the children or not, that one. To the above 2.5, 3 years children, we should not force the milk. Milk is a very hard food. Though it is in the liquid form, it is very hard food. That is why fasting, nobody will have the milk. They will drink juice because milk is a hard food. Can't be get digested easily. If such is the case, how children will get digested? See, God has given one enzyme to the children, special enzyme. When children gets birth, no teeth to chew the hard food and get digested. The children wants semi-liquid food, liquid food, till the children gets the teeth and they can start chewing the food. Till that time, in their saliva, one enzyme, it is called renin, that will be. It works like a digestive thing, like what you call Rantak. When they drink milk, that renin will be mixed with the milk and it gets digested. After the teeth start coming and children start munching and chewing the hard food, so slowly that renin will stop. After renin stops, so it is not the milk will not get digested easily. That is why most of the children after 3 years, they reject to drink milk, but the mothers will force. So they know better than us what is good for their health. You will believe in their intelligence. Don't force the children to have the milk. If they want, you give. Otherwise, you need not give. So these cereals can be given to the children. So we have to roast it and make it powder and then make like a malt or something. See, this video is made 20 years back. At that time itself, Guruji told these all millets we have to use, not only rice. But these people, they are telling now from 2-3 years. But what Guruji tells is, whatever the carbohydrate traditionally we are eating in our area, that should be major percentage. Like for the South Karnataka people,
ragi and rice is the main carbohydrate. We must take more than 50% of the carbohydrates, rice or ragi only. For the North Karnataka people, jawar. For the Andhra people, only rice. For the Kerala people, boiled rice. Maharashtra and North Indian, wheat. Again, Kashmiri's rice. Like this. Whatever traditionally we were eating, that should be more than 60%, and all other carbohydrates, 50% we can use. It will be good for the health of the children. Digestion time takes how much digestion time? From mouth to anus to complete the digestion process, how much time it takes? Non-vegetarian food takes around 48 to 72 hours to complete the digestion process. That non-vegetarian food will be in the system for 3 days. What happens when a dead animal is kept 3 days? What will happen? It petrifies. A foul smell starts coming. That is why a non-vegetarian food is not good. This is about the Guruji wants us to know whether the man is a vegetarian animal or a non-vegetarian animal. All the non-vegetarian animals will have canines. All vegetarian animals will have molars. Man is also having molars. That shows man is a vegetarian animal. To all non-vegetarian animals, their canines, sharp canines will be carnivore, this thing. To eat the meat and flesh, to tear that sharp canines is required. But a human being doesn't have that canines. Basically, human anatomy is suitable for vegetarian food. All deep fried foods take 36 to 48 hours to complete the digestion process. And all cooked food 24 to 36 hours to complete the digestion process. Raw foods, that is vegetables, raw salads, completes the digestion process within 6 to 8 hours from mouth to anus. Fruits gets digested in about 3 to 4 hours. That is why when a person is ill, doctors advise him to take more and more fruits so that fast digestion process completes, and whatever the energy required, it will be assimilated by the body. Fruits easy to get digested. How is our body cycles? See, morning 4 a.m. to 12 noon. It is not p.m. actually, it is noon. This is the period when excretion takes place. So this is the morning, early morning, 4 o'clock to 12 o'clock. The body will be throwing out unwanted materials, toxins in the body, like urine, then the other thing, shit, everything. Early morning you might have observed, sweat also comes in the early mornings. So all the unwanted things, it is thrown out from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. What Guruji says is, during this period, 4 to 12 noon, don't eat solid foods. A light food has to be taken. Otherwise, whatever the excretion process was happening, it will stop in the middle, and our energy comes to the stomach to process the newly eaten food. Excretion process uncompleted, and whatever has to be thrown out, it will be accumulated in the body only. That is why in our tradition, breakfast we were calling as palahar, palahara aita. We ask, palahara means hal, palka ahar. So fruits has to be taken in the morning, not the idli, vada, upma, not that actually. Those things get digested within 2-3 hours. It doesn't require much energy to digest it. And after some time, palahara has become upahara. It should be upahar, not main ahar. Morning breakfast should be. Just breaking the fast, that's all. You will not eat a stomach full, just you will break the fast. That is called breakfast. Upahara, it happened. Afterwards, recent times, they call it as combo. It will be more than a meal. Idli is there, vada is there, upma is there, pongal is there, masala dosa is there. Everything in the early morning, in the breakfast time, they eat combos. That is why all gastritis and all has come. Suffering from indigestion problems, cholesterols, everything. Up to 12 noon, it is better to have juices or fruits only. So that is why I eat in the morning fruit bowl. So Panchamrita we say, that only. So little 1 spoon or 1.5 spoon, whatever they prepare for their satisfaction, I eat the cooked food. So that is why I am very energetic. See, today morning, I woke up at 3:15 and till now I have not rested for a minute. And I will go to the bed at 11 o'clock. Early morning, 3:15 to 11 o'clock, at the age of 69 years. So much energy we get from the fruits and vegetables, raw food, fruits and vegetables. 12 noon to 8 p.m. This is not 9 p.m., actually 8 p.m. This is the time when the body releases the enzymes for digestion. So 12 p.m. in the 8 p.m. ವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ತರ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಫುಡ್ ತಿನ್ಬಹುದು. ತಿಂದ್ರೆ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲನೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ again after 8 p.m. to early morning 4 a.m. it is absorption period. So absorption of digested food is predominant during this time. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಾತ್ರಿ 8 ಗಂಟೆ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ತಿನ್ಲೇಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಅಷ್ಟರೊಳಗಡೆ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಮಲ್ಗೋದು ನಾವು 10 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಮಲ್ಗಿದ್ರೆ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ದೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೂ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅನ್ಈಸಿನೆಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಎದ್ದೇಳುವಾಗ್ಲೇ ಫ್ರೆಶ್ ಆಗಿ ಎದ್ದೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಮಂಕ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಜೈನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಸ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಸನ್ಸೆಟ್ 6:30 they will not eat anything. That is why you will see very hardly the Jain people in the hospital or nursing homes. This discipline they maintain. Next is the junk food. The name itself says junk. It is not advisable to eat all these things: burger, pizza, bakery items, and bottled drinks, all those things. These are the general things about the food. But these junk foods, we should not stop 100% to the child. Once in a while, we should get them rarely. Like the same topic we had in 6th session, postponing the desire. There told you to give once in a week or once in 15 days, or depending upon the dangerousness of the thing, you can fix up the, if it is more danger thing, so you can give once in 3 months. So if it is less, monthly once. If it is still less dangerous, then weekly once, like this. But don't cut off. Some social problems will arise. So child may go to the neighbor's house and ask, auntie, will you get me dairy milk, chocolate? Or else they may ask your relations who comes to the house, their grannies or other relations. In your absence, they will ask, ಅಪ್ಪನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡ, ಅಮ್ಮನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡ, ನಂಗೆ ಚಿಪ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಸು, ಲೇಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಸು, like this. Instead, you better create awareness in the child and get it once in a while. That much immunity they will have, they can sustain with all those things. We give, that's what, once in a while we'll give. He will eat all the things, but he prefers fruits nuts, especially nuts. Now my missus, she was telling yesterday or today morning, no, there is the dabba, the partition dabba is there. In that we have kept all cashew nuts, grapes, dry grapes, like this, almond, everything. So he opens it, he takes it and eats whatever the quantity he wants. Likewise, he eats fruits also very nicely. Even he likes vegetable salads. Okay, 4 concepts we'll see about food and your child. The first thing is what to give. Second is when to give. Third thing is how much to give. Fourth one is how to give. What to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, how to eat. Those 4 things. So one by one we'll take. You need not force the child to eat. So quantity, Guruji is telling, child knows best what is good for his or her body. They are sensitive. What to eat, they know better than us. Maybe with your knowledge you will give the child, with all this knowledge you will offer the child whatever you feel good to the child. But the child's choice we have to leave. Child should eat whatever it likes, not what you like child to eat. They know better than us to their body what is required, which nutrition is required. So they choose those things. If you develop your child's 5 senses, sharpened 5 senses, they will be super sensitive children. And their 6th sense starts working fantastically. And they will come to know what is required to their body. So those foods only they will eat. You have belief in their intelligence, brilliancy, and whatever they ask, you give. Whatever they ask means, you may tell, if I say like that, my child always asks about the kurkure. So some discipline we have to maintain, that is, see, in whomever house, small children are there, what you have to do is, so one discipline we should have. See, in whomever house small children are there, they should keep these things ready in their house. Always it should be nuts like cashew nut, badam, all those things, and fresh fruits and fresh vegetables like carrot, cucumber, nelkol, turnip. Like this, fresh vegetables, and then sprouts, especially green gram sprouts. Every day you have to soak 1 fistful of green gram minimum for the child. You should not force the child to eat green gram sprouts, but it should be there in the house. If child likes, child eat. Otherwise, you eat, no problem. You use for your whatever. If you want to eat, or you put it to the sambar or dosa or whatever it is. But every day there should be sprouts in the house. So with this, whatever cooked food you have prepared, this much should be in the house. The child can choose anything out of this. So you don't tell the child, this is morning 7 o'clock, you must drink milk. This is 9 o'clock, you must eat the idli vada I have prepared. 10:30 I will give you the fruits, you must eat. Afternoon lunch, whatever I have prepared, you should eat. Like this, you don't force. If a child wants to eat some fruit at 7 o'clock in the morning, give it, that's all. If a child wants to eat some sprouts for the breakfast, you give, that's all, like this. So the child will have a choice to eat amongst this. you don't specify what the child has to eat. So child knows better than. Whenever you ask the child what you want, child simply doesn't reply you. Child look into the body, what body requires, which food it contains, all those things, and then it chooses that. So they may eat morning also banana, afternoon also banana, night also banana. They may ask, what is there? Give banana, no? It is not a poison, no? Give, they want it. The child's body asks for the banana nutrition value. It is asking, give. After the body requirement completes, it will ask for some other thing. So have belief. If the child asks oranges for 3 days, give, no problem. Pomegranate for 3 days. So it requires some liquid, this thing, C-vitamin. The child eats those things. Some child may ask rice all the 3 times. You need not prepare and give. If it is there, you give in the morning also. If your child asks for the rice in the morning, if you have prepared, you give it, that's all. This is what to eat is whatever child wants to eat, we will provide it. Means that restriction I have told you. Amongst what? Second thing is when to eat. So 7 o'clock milk, 9 o'clock breakfast, 11 o'clock these fruits, 1:30 lunch. All these timings is for you only, not for the child. So when the right time to give food to the child is whenever child wants to eat. That is the right time. Don't force the child to eat at 9 a.m. breakfast. These timings and all for you. It doesn't mean you should not offer. You offer. If child wants, let the child eat. If child doesn't want, okay, you close the thing and keep it. When child comes and asks, you give again. You need not heat up also again. If a child comes at 11 o'clock and if it asks, give, the right time is whenever child feels to eat, wants to eat. That is the right time. This timetable and all for you, not for the child. Right time for the child is whenever an hungry is there in the stomach. Before eating, child observes the stomach. If the hungry is there, then only it opens the mouth. It eats. Otherwise, it will not. Last week, we had one session, 6th session. In that 6 levels of consciousness people, Guruji was explaining. Do you remember? He explained about only 5 levels of consciousness people. And he told 6th one, I will tell you in the last day. Above Brahmana, there is one more consciousness that he has not explained. Up to Brahmana state, he has explained. What is that thing is? It is called Avaduta state of consciousness. What is Avaduta state of consciousness? Brahmana also have so many disciplines. Before puja he will not eat, so many things like. So he will have his own rules and regulations and disciplines. But for the Avaduta, no rules and regulations applies. Avaduta is 100% a natural human being. Means he will be 100% with nature. It seems one person asked one Avaduta, Swamiji, you are so much famous and all admire you so much. What you will be doing? One foreigner, he asks, what you will be doing? Then he says, I do nothing. No, you tell me what you are doing, what you will be doing. Then he says, see, I do 2 things. When I get hungry, I eat. First one. Second one is what? I sleep when I get sleep only. I know that person says, we are also doing the same thing. Then immediately that Avaduta says, no, you are all not doing that. Even if you doesn't have hungry, you will eat. For the taste purpose or for the time purpose, it's already 2 o'clock, I have to eat. So likewise you will eat. You will not ask the stomach whether stomach requires or not. And even sleep, even if you doesn't get the sleep, you will be lying down. Even if you are getting sleep, you will not sleep at all. You will postpone. If some emergency work is there, so then even if you have the sleep, you will not sleep. Likewise, even if you have hungry, you will not eat. Sometimes without hungry also you will eat. They are natural, 100% natural. They can play with the natural things. They can play with trees, play with animals. They can play with 5 elements of the world. Panchabhutas, those people are called Avadutas. Children are also like that. They get hungry only, they will eat. If they get sleep only, they will sleep. Right time is whenever they wants to eat, that is the right time. So you don't fix. The second concept, when to eat over, what to eat also over, how much to eat. By now, I think an idea has come to all of you. How much child has to eat? How much to eat also? It knows. See, yesterday, my grandson, just a single piece dosa left out. Single piece, this much only. His father, my son, he was forcing. He don't piece piece. He told, nothing doing, I don't want. My stomach is full. If you want, you eat. I don't mind. Likewise, they will not eat more than their stomach. But what mothers does, very bad thing they do. They'll force the children to eat, force the children to eat, force the children to eat. And they spoil, maybe out of love, but they spoil the health of the children. So you be matured enough to understand the child. Respect the child's requirements. Why we are telling is, whatever the quantity required, that much only children will eat. You don't force the children. We have a bad habit. If I cut an apple, the whole apple the child has to eat. If I give a biscuit, the child has to eat the whole biscuit. Likewise, it should not leave anything. We will mix the rice and child has to complete all the rice you mixed. So like this. So they feel if the child doesn't eat, left something, it will become a waste. So they force and they want to complete whatever they have prepared or whatever they have mixed, whatever they have given. So don't force. They know better than us. Don't think the waste has to be. Will you think your child's stomach is a dustbin to put the waste? So don't force the child. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದೇ ಡಸ್ಟ್ಬಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು. So you have already made your stomach dustbin. So you don't force the children to eat. If at all that conjuiciness is there, you eat whatever is left out. Don't force the child. And one thing I'll tell you, ಅದು ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಗುಗೆ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಿನ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ, if you force the child and make the child to eat, that whatever the food you have inserted in the child's stomach, that is anyhow waste. If the body of the child doesn't require, if you forcefully fill it, it will not get digested. It will come as it is in the sheet. So no use will be. But apart from that, the body burden, body has worked so much to throw it out forcefully. Continuous forcing the food may cause you have to go to the doctor, get the medicines, checkups. Nowadays they will be getting, waiting you to receive in the nursing homes and all. They are looting the people. So you will give more chance for them to loot more. Don't force. Guruji, if I doesn't force, my child doesn't eat at all. So what? If the child doesn't eat, what happened? Will anything fall from the sky on your head? No problem. If child doesn't eat one meal, what will happen? Will child die? If child misses one lunch? No. See, without food, for how many days a human being will die if he doesn't eat? Can anyone tell? See, those are exceptional cases. Generally, no, it is 48 days. 48 days, a human being, ordinary human being, can survive without food. Don't worry if your child doesn't eat for 3 days. It doesn't mean you should not care when the child doesn't eat, but you don't force that, all. You offer, if child doesn't want, okay. But one thing here, one subtler thing is there. You have to observe the face of the child. The child is active, joyful, playing, all the things are normal, then you need not care, even if the child doesn't eat. The child is not eating, but it is not active also. It's feeling tiredness, it is sleeping or lying down. Then you have to take care of the child. You have to check up whether the fever is there or the cold and cough happened or stomach ache is there. Why child is not eating and child is tired. You may have to take the child to the doctor also. So, but if the child is joyful, active, everything, you need not worry. But you don't run behind the child to feed. See, that is you are wasting your time, precious time. Everybody knows, first day of the birth itself, if the child gets hungry, it will cry or not? Why it cries? It is expressing, I am hungry, give something to me. And you will understand and give, then it drinks. If a one-day child has got that much intelligence, if I get hungry, I have to cry and my parents will feed me and my stomach will fulfill. Will your 2.5 years child doesn't have that much intelligence? It can't take care of its body. That's what again and again I am telling. You should have belief in their knowledge, their intelligence, their brilliance. So don't run behind the child to feed. How much to eat? Whatever the quantity they require. Next thing is how to eat. Last thing. A child has to eat using spoon, knife, fork, with apron, with napkins, all those things. Child has to eat like this.
Not required so much discipline, Guruji.
See, it doesn't mean you should not train the child how to eat. But you should not force the child to eat in a particular manner. In whichever fashion the child can eat, it will eat. So you have to approve it. But you will be training the child how to eat also. You will not force the child to eat in a particular manner. See, actually we doesn't know. See, as soon as you give a banana to 8 months child or 10 months child, it smashes like this. Yes or no? When it smashes like this, immediately the papa says, he, nodu, kodbeda ande, nin banana kottidya, asaya, heng ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತಿದ್ಯಾ ನೋಡು ಮಗು. Yes or no? Yen asaya, what is asaya in that? If the child smashes the banana, what is the asahya? It is a food, amruta. It smashed, that's all. It has not added any toxins or poison in it. The banana shape changed, that's all. It knows better than you. If the banana, if I eat just like that, my esophagus can't adjust. It's not sufficient. I have to make it semi-liquid, and then if I eat, it will easily go into the esophagus, goes through esophagus to stomach. So that is why it smashes like this. We have to understand the intelligence of the child. Let the child apply the food items to the dress. In whichever fashion it can eat, it will eat. Other the motor movements of the child, ಅದಕ್ಕಿನ್ನೂ motor movements ಎಲ್ಲ perfection ಬಂದಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಂಗ್ ತಿನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಹಂಗ್ ತಿನ್ನುತ್ತೆ. We should allow the child to eat in whatever fashion it can eat. This is about fourth concept. Now I will tell you how to discipline the child. Should I not, lock the kitchen? Should I keep open for 24 hours? If such is the case, how I can go to my official work? Or should I not force the child to eat? Like this, so many questions. With my 20 years of ISP experience, I thought about this seriously, and I have experimented one thing on my grandson. It is very successful. Some food disciplines we have to maintain. During the pregnancy itself, this food discipline has to be started in the house. Recent days, we are developing a bad culture that whenever somebody wants to eat, and he doesn't care whether others have ate or not, should I call them also? Nothing. They will put it in the plate and they will eat, that's all. This is a very bad culture. In the olden days, in the village, the Patel used to go to each and every house before he ate the lunch. He used to ask anybody in this village who doesn't have food, you come to my house, we will eat together. Like this, he used to announce the whole village and then he used to go. Leave about that. At least you should ask your family members, no? You should know who has eaten or not, why they have not ate, all those things. What we have to do is, individually eating we should avoid. Together you should sit and eat. This practice you should make. If inevitability is there, okay, individually we can eat. If we are in the house at that time, at least you can sit together and eat together. While eating, no TV should be on. It should be switched off actually. Some light music you have to play. And then all the things, if more family members are there, one person should take care of the serving. All others will sit together. If the family is small, then bring all the food, keep it in the center, and in a circle manner, you all can sit and eat. While eating, no negative things we will talk or we will think, no negative things, only joyful and positive things only we will think during the lunch. As much as possible, silence will be maintained and music will be on. This, you should start practicing this when the lady has become conceived. From that day onwards, this practice, together eating lunch, together eating dinner, together eating breakfast, all the family members. This you have to practice. So by this, lot of love and affection between the family members will develop. This is my personal experience. In my house, now we wait for each other. In my house, we are 7 people are there, including Chandogya. So my two daughter-in-laws, 2 sons, we are 2 and Chandogya, 7 members. 99% I doesn't sit alone and eat. I wait, I call, and at least 4 people, 5 people will sit together and we'll eat. It is developing a lot of love between us. When child comes out of the womb, child should feel, oh, this is the way we eat in our house. And mentally the training happens. I should also follow all these things. The right time to train the child to eat independently, when the child at the age of 5 months or 6 months, it can sit on the ground sturdily and it will not fall down if you make the child to sit. That is the right time to start training the child to eat independently. So what you have to do during the pregnancy or in the early days of the child, so wherever you go, you observe by small things like a small spoon for the child, small katoris, small plates, like this, all small things. You purchase and keep it for the child's sake. Along with this, 2.5 by 2.5 feet resin minimum, that is a resin or a flex, you should keep it ready, new one. When child can sit independently. So anyhow, you already started eating together. In between the couples, that resin you will place. On the resin, the child will sit. You will make the child to sit. Remove all the garments except underwear. Don't worry that it is a boy or girl. Let the child sit on the resin. You also put your plates and give a small plate to the child. And small katori, small things, everything. And whatever you serve to yourself and others, same thing has to be served to the child's plate also, but very minimum quantity. The music will be on and you will all be start eating. Child also starts eating. You will be guiding the child how to eat, what have to eat, in which manner. It differs, no, eating dosa differs from eating how to eat idli, how to eat upma, all those things. We will be telling upma we have to eat like this, dosa we have to eat like this, puri we have to eat. So you will be telling the child will be observing also how you eat. It learns by seeing itself, but you will at the same time you will guide the child also. But you are not forcing the child to eat in a particular manner. Child eats however it can eat. You don't worry about all those things. Sometimes child may spell all the thing on the resin and it may apply to that body also like this, here and all. And the water may fall in the plate. It may put that dosa into the water glass. Like this, it may do susu also on resin. So you don't worry all those things. Let that happen. Peacefully you eat, you guide the child. Till your food session completes, let this play happen. Music is on, you'll be eating, child will also be eating, all those things. When your food session is over, while you take the what you call plates, and one discipline everyone has to maintain nowadays. Now I'm seeing this what you call ಎಂಜಿಲು ನಾವು ಎಂಜಿಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಡಿಗೆ ಮನೆ ಸಿಂಕ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕಬಾರ್ದು. ಈ ಕರೋನಾ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಿರ್ತದೆ ಏನು ಎಂಜಿಲು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲು ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನಲ್ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಿನ್ಸ್ ಮನೆಗಳಲ್ಲಾಗ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ವೈಶ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮನೆಗಳಲ್ಲಾಗ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಜೈನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಎಂಜಿಲ್ ತಟ್ಟೆಯನ್ನ ಅಡಿಗೆ ಮನೆಗೆ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗಲ್ಲ, ಹೊರಗಡೆನೆ ತೊಳಿತಾರೆ. ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್, ಹೆಲ್ದಿ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್. ವೆನ್ ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಪ್ಲೇಟ್ಸ್, see if the child ate a little only, not stomach full. If it is, the plate is clean, take the plate and keep it somewhere there. You will take the rexine. Now the food has fallen on the rexine, and you take the child also to the bathroom. Clean the rexine, clean the child also. Put 2-3 mugs of hot water on the child. Give small mini bath to the child, and then bring the child, wipe the child, and put the dress. And afterwards, the mother has to feed again. This has to be done. While serving to the child, you prepare small things. If you have prepared the dosa, small dosas you have to prepare. Idli, small idli you have to prepare. Puri, small puris you have to prepare. There is a reason. My granny was doing, my mother was doing this, and my wife also does for her grandson. I understood why. I have analyzed why they prepare small. They can cut and put, no. See, a child always lives in purnatva, fullness. You might have observed, if you make 2 pieces a laddu and give the child, it will reject. I want full. I don't want piece 1. Will they tell or not? If you prepare small laddus and give, see, I have prepared for your sake small thing, they will take it. Very happily they will take it. Because that shape of the thing is purna, complete it is. So it lives always, the child lives in fullness. Prepare small things and give. Nowadays all mothers, they doesn't have time to do all these things. That is why I am stressing. Do this. Slowly what happens? Child eating on its own will increase. You feeding will reduce. By the age of 2 years, child completely starts eating on its own fully, whatever the quantity required. This is what we have to practice. Within 2 years, they should be in a position to eat completely whatever the quantity they want. Neatly they have to. 2.5 years, maximum 2.5 years. Mansi, she started eating at 2.5 years like this. Very neatly she used to eat whatever the quantity she wanted. Even my grandson, he is just 5 years. He will eat independently whatever the quantity required. All the things, rice, sambar, he himself will mix. He himself will do all those things. So sometimes for love and affection, we will tell, hey, one tooth nanata tinbido. Like this we will force and feed. Any questions about the child and food? Likewise, they should relish and eat. You also do this. That is called meditation. Whatever you do, if you do relishing it, that is called meditation. It is also called yoga. Okay. It's time up. If any questions are there, independently you can ask over the phone, or we can discuss in the WhatsApp groups. So since today is the last day, so everyone will share your experiences. 3 months once we will all meet. Let us enjoy the world. Let us grow together, and everyone be a part of our encyclopedic library, and show the encyclopedic bits to your children and get exchanged and grow with ISP family. And yesterday, two appeals I have kept to you. Today I am reminding, one is enrolling minimum 2 people to the next batch. Don't forget in your busy schedule about the enrollments. And the second one is the contributions to the Dhyan Mandir. I will share the account number and all. Whatever contribution you can do it. Soon it will complete and you will get the invitation. So with this, we'll conclude with our regular prayer. We'll all sit together. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.